Hello, welcome back to the Fix It Frank 412 YouTube channel. Today we're going to be working on my 2014 Ford SVT Raptor with the Roush Supercharger. Today we're going to be doing two things. We're going to be replacing the Serpentine belt as well as changing the supercharger fluid. To do this, I've went ahead and purchased 8 ounces of Motorcraft synthetic supercharger fluid. I forget what the part number was on this, but 8 ounces of that. We'll need to use almost that much. I bought a syringe. I will include links to all of these in the comment section. And then I went ahead and bought the factory belt from Roush. Part number is on here. So this is the part number R421627. I know sometimes people have said those are a little hard to get the factory belt. They've been on back order and such, but I was able to find the factory belt. Other things we'll need for the job, we're going to need a 1/2 inch drive ratchet to loosen the tensioner to get the belt off. We're going to need a 13 millimeter to take the bolts off of the alternator, to move the alternator out of the way, and that will give us access to the drain and fill hole that's on the front of the supercharger. So I'm going to go ahead here and don't want to drag this out too long. I'm going to go ahead and get the belt detensioned here. Using the 1/2 inch drive socket. You can see the tensioner is down here, and you're going to push towards the driver's side, so clockwise, to detension that. I'm going to take the belt off of probably the alternator or whatever I can reach to get it off, take it the entire way off, and then when we go to put the new belt back on, we'll want to do it in the reverse procedure. The belt diagram is up here on the hood. So in case yours is missing, I'm going to use that. I did confirm that is correct for the routing of the belt when we put it back on. So I'm going to cut away here for a moment. I'm going to detension this belt, get the belt off, and then we'll catch back up when it comes time to pull the alternator off and access the supercharger drain plug. Okay, welcome back. I did want to mention something before we get into removing the alternator. The belt came off pretty easily. I did find it easiest to pop it off of the alternator first, and then it kind of came off of all the pulleys over here on the right hand side first. But to get the belt out, I had to pull it between this pulley and the tensioner. I had to pull it out through there. So when I install the new belt, we're going to go through between this pulley and the tensioner here, and I'm going to stick the full end of the belt down through there to loop it around the AC compressor first. So just wanted to mention that. We're gonna now go ahead and remove these. Looks like there's 3 bolts for the alternator. They're 13 millimeter. We'll come back after I have those removed. Okay, so we're back. Went ahead and got the bolts out of the alternator. There were 3 13 millimeters. And then I went ahead and just kind of pulled the alternator out and swung it away. There's no need to disconnect any of these terminals or anything, or the connection, so plenty of room. Just swung it up out of the way. That, you see, is now going to give us access to the drain and fill hole here. I'm going to go ahead and get some rags and stick them below here just in case anything comes out. I'm going to use a 3/16 kind of 3/16 6-sided kind of hex head, and that's the size that takes. I'm gonna go ahead and get that set up, get that taken out of there. So there should not be much fluid if we're on level that comes out of there. You might get a little bit that comes out. I'm gonna go ahead and drain that, and then we will go ahead and I'll catch back up with you once we get the drain plug out. Okay, hey, we're back. So the drain plug came out very easily. You can see there is a little rubber gasket on there. Make sure not to lose that. I'm probably gonna just try to wipe it a little bit clean before I reinstall it. But nothing came out of the hole. So that could mean we're a little bit low. Could also mean we're not quite on level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my that syringe I bought with the black rubber hose attached, and I'm going to feed it in there and try to suck out as much as I can with that. I am going to go a step further, and this is probably a little bit excess, but I'm going to, once I get some out, I'm going to jack up the back of the truck. That way it tilts a little bit forward so I can try to get as much as I can out. Pardon the plane. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put anything I get out of there in a red Solo cup so I can see how much I've taken out, so that way I make sure I put just about the same amount in. We don't want to overfill it. I was told it takes slightly less than 8 ounces, and we purchased 8 ounces, so I want to make sure I'm measuring what I'm taking out, and since nothing leaked, I should be able to get a really good measurement of what we actually take out of here. So gonna go ahead and start syringing out of here. Again, I'm gonna jack up the back of the truck once I get some out, just to tilt it forward and see how much more I can get out of here, and I'll catch you back up once we take out before we put in the new. Okay, we're back. So interestingly enough, jacking the back of the truck up didn't seem to have any, didn't change anything. I couldn't get any more out that way. But here in a red Solo cup is what I was able to get out, which, you know, it's dark, it smells kind of sweet, but it looks like I only got about maybe 4 ounces out. If you want to compare, this is the color of the old to this is the color of the new, so definitely cleaner, but I'm gonna try to get just a little bit more out, and if I am successful, great. If not, I'm gonna go ahead and get the truck back to level and start to fill it with the fresh stuff. We'll be right back. So real quick, I just wanted to show you guys, that's the difference between the new and the old. So new on the right, old on the left. It does look like I dumped one of the 4 ounce containers in there, so it does look like I got about 4 ounces out. I'm gonna go ahead and start to fill it. I'm gonna use the syringe to fill it as well. So I'm gonna put the new fluid in here and syringe it back in. And I'm gonna see once I get 4 ounces in if it comes out of the front hole or not. I know that that's supposed to be kind of your fill, to fill it to that hole. So I'm gonna put the 4 ounces in and see if that gets us there. If not, I might stick a little bit more than that in if it takes us to that fill hole. So I will come back and once we get that filled up, and we'll put this all back together. Okay, we're back. I went ahead and just put the 4 ounces in that I took out because I don't want to overfill it. It's a closed system, it shouldn't go anywhere. So I probably wasn't quite reaching everything with the syringe, even though I was trying to angle the hose down in there, but it's kind of hard to do because you start hitting things in there. So I'm gonna go with just putting in what I took out, which was basically 4 ounces, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this back together, and probably what I'll do is just change it again, you know, in another 20,000-30,000 miles, just to be sure. But I don't want to overfill it, because overfilling is also not good. So that's why it's important to measure what you take out and make sure you put back in what you take out. So everybody may get more successful with getting more or less out, but I only got about 4 ounces out. I'm just going to go ahead and do the 1 4-ounce bottle back in. That way it also gives me another 4-ounce bottle if I do this again and only get the same amount out. I can go ahead and only put the same amount back in. So we're going to go ahead and get this button back up. I'm going to go ahead and just clean this gasket on here real quick, and maybe put a little bit of fluid on here just to make sure it seals. And then I'm going to go ahead and tighten that back up, get the alternator put back on, and then we'll get back together when it comes to putting the new belt on the all the pulleys. Okay, we're back. So got the bolt in for the supercharger drain. got the bolts all tightened for the alternator. I will say this, the positive cable on the back of the alternator is bare. There's no cover. So when I was putting that back, it was coming really close to the supercharger, and it did arc really quick on me. So one thing I should have done before I started all of this was disconnect the positive battery cable. So I did go ahead and do that now, just to prevent any possible any more arcing possibilities if I bump something with the alternator against something. So went ahead and got that all tightened up. We're going to go ahead now and get the belt rerouted. So again, belt rerouting, I'm going to grab an end of the belt together, squeeze it together, and stick it through between the pulley down here and the tensioner right below it. So I'm going to feed that through first. That's for the AC condenser. You're going to want to get that around there, and then I'm going to start trying to put it around as many of the other accessories as I can. Ideally, what we want to try to do, and I've never done it on this vehicle before, but any other vehicle in the past, is I try to get the belt on everything except for one of the pulleys that's most accessible. So in this case, the supercharger pulley, the alternator pulley, or maybe even this pulley down here. So if I can get it around everything at the bottom or close to it and get it up around here, that should give me a nice accessible area that when I'm putting some pressure on the tensioner, I can flip it up over these pulleys up here and make sure it's routed correctly. Again, you'll want to make sure you're looking at your belt diagram on the hood or in your owner's manual for this. So I'm going to go ahead and get that back together, and we'll come back and wrap this up. Okay, I wanted to come back before I went ahead and took my tool out of here, but I ended up just using a 1/2-inch extension with actually the end of the jack handle on here for a little extra leverage. I found it easiest to start the belt around the AC compressor after I pushed it through, and then I worked it around the tensioner, which kind of got it up around here, and then I left that end up here, worked the other end down around over to the power steering and water pump and such, and then up around the supercharger pulley. I left it off of the alternator, put my tension on here, and I was able to pull it up over the alternator and slip it on. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my tools out of here. Went ahead, already hooked the battery back up, and we should be good to go. Thanks everybody for watching. We are going to be doing, I just bought this vehicle a few months ago. We're at about 75,000 miles. I will be doing all of the other fluids on this, including both differentials, the transfer case, and the transmission. So check out my other videos that will be coming on this, and please like and subscribe if this was helpful to you. Thank you so much for your thanks so much for watching. Tune back in soon. Thanks.